Hi there, folks. Saber4 here. A little bit different video today. We are going to look into some of the Twin Suns format, since this had a little bit of an adjustment when we went to jump to Lightspeed. What are we looking for in this video? Well, we'll talk a little bit about what is Twin Suns. We'll do a little bit about how we pick leaders and what we do with them. We'll talk about some fun combos, and I'm going to give you an example deck as we go. Before we get started, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out. And if you are watching this video sometime in March, there is a contest going on right now where you can win some prestige foils. I opened up a box of the Jump to Lightspeed Carbonite, and in that have a few foil cards from the Tier 2 Prestige that I'm going to give away, and wanted to give you the opportunity to take a look at that video. So find that video on the channel, take a look, and good luck. So what is Twin Suns? Twin Suns is an alternate rule set. It's made for multiplayer for Star Wars Unlimited. You use 2 leaders and 1 base. Each person uses 2 leaders and 1 base. And those leaders, the only real tie here is that they must share their heroism or villainy aspect. Now with Jump to Lightspeed, I said we did make some changes. The format size jumped from 50 cards to 80. And the trick here is that you can use only 1 copy of any particular card in your deck. Of course, that has one exception. As I've said multiple times, the game has rules and the cards are made to break the rules. The Swarming Vulture Droid can use up to 15 of the cards in the deck. The other difference here between a regular game of Star Wars Unlimited and Twin Suns is that you are not allowed to pass. So every time that the turn comes to you, you must change the game state. Now, that also means that you want to think about your leader choices, because some leaders can dirtle. Some leaders can take an action and do nothing. For example, if you have Iden as one of your leaders and no unit has been defeated yet this turn, or you're even early in the turn and you don't need to do the healing, you can soft pass by using her action, healing nothing, and making it somebody else's turn because you have changed the game state. There are extra counters that are available in Twin Suns. There's the blast counter and the plan counter, so there are 3 total with 4 players. And the initiative is still a token that you can take. Whoever has the initiative goes first in the next round. Whoever takes the blast counter does 1 damage to each opponent's base, and whoever takes the plan counter draws 1 card and then places 1 card from their hand on the bottom of their deck. The game flow goes clockwise from the initiative token, and as far as the end of the game goes, play lasts until the round where the first player is eliminated. Now, if you're that first player eliminated, you don't get to take any more actions. The player who eliminated you heals 5 damage from their base, and then the round continues until no more actions are left to be taken. So that doesn't mean that the game is immediately over. You might see players pile on to try and take somebody else out that's leading, or try and chip away at someone, or there might be another base that is pretty close. They might try to heal that 5 from their own and see if they can manage to pull out a win. How do I pick leaders? Well, there's a couple different possibilities. Number 1, we can talk about that dirtling, the ability to do something and do nothing. And so action cheating leaders like Leia are really interesting in here because they're going to accelerate your timeline to having to take one of the counters. Now, that could mean that you are taking the plan, taking the initiative, taking the blast very early, but it also means that you're going to be doing nothing the rest of the turn. There's bonus stacking. There's the ability to use leaders with their combination effects. So if I'm using, say, the Grand Inquisitor and pairing him with Director Krennic, Grand Inquisitor is going to damage a unit. Krennic gives a bonus to damaged units. There's also tribal synergies to consider. And when I say tribal synergies, I mean a group of things that have the same trait, like Underworld, Rebel, Imperial, Separatist. There are some tribes that are pretty dense in this game so far, and there are some that are pretty light. For example, I have here, there's 129 total Underworld units. 58 are villainy Underworld units. 19 are heroism underworld units. And so there's a pretty good mix, even if you were playing heroism, there's still 50 cards that are out there for you to move around and maneuver in your deck and play underworld. Other larger tribes include Rebel, Separatist, Imperial, and Republic. All of those have 60 to 100 units apiece. The smaller tribes that are out there are Mandalorian, First Order, Clone, New Republic, and Fringe. Some of those are less than 30 cards still. So some of those still have a very small grouping of things that you want to play off of. So that's kind of how we consider what we're doing when we're making choices for our leader. Fun combinations. Well, we talked about combinations that kind of play off of each other. Imperial is a very large pool of cards, which plays with Grand Moff Tarkin. Grand Moff Tarkin allows you to use that action, and he allows you to use that action to place an experience token. Well, any upgraded friendly unit gets a static +1/+0 from Gar Saxon. So with Gar Saxon, if you play a Imperial heavy deck and play Grand Moff Tarkin as your second leader, you can give a Imperial unit an experience token and effectively give it +2/+1. Youth and experience, using Han 1, Han 2 together, allows you to, again, kind of be action heavy and make a longer run of play in a particular round. But you could play something as big as a 4-drop in round 1. Yeah, it's going to have a little bit of damage on it, but you can bring in round 1 Kanan if blue is your third color. So you really can ramp up to some of the bigger units quickly. Master and Apprentice down there at the bottom is Obi-Wan Kenobi with Anakin Skywalker. Now Anakin is going to kind of hit your base. His action allows you to trade up pretty big. But then Obi-Wan is going to come out and he's allowing you to heal units back down. He's going to be a big sentinel on the board. One of the big struggles with Anakin is, am I going to put something in front of him to kind of protect him when he comes up? And Obi-Wan is a great thing for this. Other ideas. I mentioned already Krennic with Grand Inquisitor. Rebels and Spectres, so something like Leia, along with the Hera unit, which allows you to play any Spectre and opens up a little bit bigger color palette. You could do a really similar thing in Villainy if you wanted to play clones. Raiders of the Skies, IG-88, a very underused leader just because his ability isn't wonderful. But pair him with the Jump to Lightspeed Darth Vader, who is going to churn out a mass of tokens, and suddenly it's very probable that you're going to have more units on the board than your opponent. The Gambler and the Walking Carpet would use Han from Spark of Rebellion along with Chewbacca. You'll be able to put out units that have Sentinel to them and stop your opponents from kind of going after some of your bigger plays. And then a tragedy has occurred would be Chancellor Palpatine and Anakin. And this is one where you would have the opportunity to play both heroism and villainy units because of Chancellor Palpatine's unique ability there. I promised you a deck. It has to split over 2 slides just because of the nature of Twin Suns. But this is Boba and Cad Bane. This is the deck that I'm currently playing, or a variant of what I am currently playing when I play Twin Suns. And this is going to run a very underworld heavy package to keep triggering Cad Bane's ability. Now, the trick being that when Cad Bane's ability triggers, he does non-combat damage. Non-combat damage triggers Boba. And so I'm not getting away with a long action chain in here. I'm going to be grabbing counters early. But in doing so, I'm going to put on 2 to 3 damage, some of it indirect, some of it direct. Most of it your opponent's choice as to where they're going to put it, but I'm going to be putting on a lot of damage and putting a lot of pressure on my opponent's units. Also, because of the nature of Boba's damage and because of how this works, I can assign a different player Cad Bane damage and Boba damage. So I can really kind of spread things out if I choose to. There's a lot of utility for having these two. A couple of choices in here that you just might want to take note of. Several things that are in here allow some escalations of direct damage or indirect damage. You have the Hotshot Blaster that will beef up some of your units. Ruthlessness, which is going to deal non-combat damage when you defeat a unit. I really enjoy and hear some of the lesser used tech. Give into your anger. It doesn't have to be one of your units. You can have an empty board play Give into your anger and force somebody who might otherwise attack you to attack a unit that's on the table. And so you can change off where somebody's attack is going to be by using a piece of tech like that. Plus, it does non-combat damage and triggers Boba. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in here that just kind of plays around with how the board works and manipulates kind of where things go. There's quite a bit of indirect damage in this deck as well. So it allows you to kind of keep pushing things towards your base. Migs is another great one. If somebody's running a strategy that discards something at all and Migs is on the table, Migs can do 2 damage to a unit. Well, guess what? Non-combat damage, trigger Boba. And so you've got a really wide variety of things that this does. Back half of this deck, some of the kind of usual suspects. Again, we have enhancement for some of the indirect damage. We have things like IG-2000 to allow me to pop multiple units that are on the table. We ran all the way up to that's Fire Spray. We went to Cad Bane. The Arquittan's Attack Cruiser here, which will allow you to, which allows you on 8 if you play it on its natural position. You could play Devastator on your next turn. Devastator does non-combat damage and triggers Boba and gives you a giant thing in the skies. So there's a lot to kind of play with here. This is a deck, like I said, that I like. This is what I'm currently running when I play Twin Suns. If you like the content, again, please subscribe to the channel. I've really enjoyed kind of being a part of this, and we will see you next time.